Hello my sweet friends, welcome back. It is currently 3:58 p.m. on a Wednesday and I kind of just have the urge to start a 24-hour readathon. I've been wanting to do one of these for a while and I just haven't really had the time. And I was just thinking about it and I was like, I don't really have that many plans tomorrow and like the rest of today as well. I do have to do a few random things and I have some like lunch plans tomorrow, but this is like the most free my schedule has been in a while. And I was like, let's just do it. Let's do a 24-hour readathon. I don't really have a super set TBR because I am such a mood reader that I don't like being like locked in to certain choices, but I'll tell you what I'm reading right now and like what I'm halfway through, because obviously this is just kind of like a spur of the moment thing. So I'm currently in the middle of a few books because I always read like 3 or 4 books at once. So right now I'm reading Book of Night by Holly Black. I am currently on page 175 and I think that's about 55% of the way through. It's like around 300 pages, I think. I'm enjoying this so far, but I'm not absolutely obsessed. It's definitely not as good, in my opinion, as The Cruel Prince, which is also by Holly Black, if you didn't know. For my non-fiction read this month, I decided to read Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton, so I don't necessarily think I'll finish this in the next 24 hours because this is one of those things that I just kind of read a chapter here and there, or like a couple chapters each day. So I don't think I'll finish this today, but I might make a dent. I'm on page 112 and this is about 350 pages, so like a third of the way through that one. And then on my Kindle I have a bunch of things. I'm going in between the physical copy and the Kindle version of this book because I don't love the formatting. Sometimes I prefer a physical book, sometimes I prefer a Kindle book, but I do happen to have both with this book. I have so many options on my Kindle and I have so many more options on my bookshelf. I am 45% of the way through Brightside by Kim Holden on my Kindle, which I've been reading for probably about a month. I don't know what is holding me back. I just have a feeling I didn't realize it was going to be a sad book and I have realized that it's going to be a sad book, and that just kind of put me off. So I might read that. I also have Travis by Mia Sheridan, which is kind of a companion novel to Archer's Voice, which I'm really excited about. But yeah, apart from that, I have so many books on my TBR for this month, so I really don't know where this is going to go, but I think I'm going to try and get a bit more of the way through this one. I think I'm going to read it on my Kindle though. I am just so fussy when it comes to formatting, and the words on this page are so tiny. I remember when I bought this book I was like, I can't believe this book is only 300 pages. Well, it's only 300 pages because the words are so tiny, the font, which I don't know why that annoys me, but it does. But yeah, I think I'm gonna start with this and then I'll probably stop in like an hour and a half to start cooking dinner. Maybe I should read outside until it gets dark because this is like the first sunny day we've had in so long. Little update. I technically only read for like just over an hour, but it was completely like uninterrupted reading time. And I only read another 12%, which I just feel like that's not a lot. I don't usually pay attention to how long it takes me to read certain amounts. So I'm up to page 213, and when I spoke to you last, I was on 175. I stopped, I made dinner, I ate dinner, and now it is almost 7 p.m. and I'm getting back into it. So we'll see how much I can read now. It's now 9:30. I'm in my pajamas and I'm still reading. I've got 10% left of this book, so I really want to finish it tonight. 90% of the way in. It's actually really good right now, but the whole book definitely hasn't been as interesting as it is right now. But like right now I'm like super hooked. But hopefully I'll finish this pretty quickly. It's now 11:03. I finished Book of Night like 15 minutes ago and then I went straight to Goodreads to read other people's reviews. I have so many thoughts and I don't really quite know what I think of this yet. It definitely wasn't a 5-star read like the Folk of the Air series was for me, but I might talk more about it tomorrow when I've had a bit more time to process. But I need to pick out a new book. I think this one.
Saw you paint a picture of a face I wasn't even close
I love it how I started this readathon because I said I didn't have any plans today. Well, my day has quickly filled up with plans. This morning I went to the gym and now I'm heading to the shops because I have a wedding this weekend. I have to pick up a couple things and then I'm going to lunch with my mum. And now this afternoon I also have a nail appointment. So I don't even know how much reading I'm going to get done today. I might continue this into tomorrow, but I do have a lot of driving to do today. So I'm going to listen to an audiobook. I started this one while I was at the gym. This is Casey McQuiston's One Last Stop. I've already read Red, White and Royal Blue by them as well, and I liked it but I didn't love it. So far I'm actually really enjoying this one. I feel like it's gonna have like a found family kind of trope to it, which I froth, but I'm only an hour and a half into it, so we'll see how much we get through this today. I also have the physical copy of this, so I might end up doing a bit of a mix while I read this. So I also brought 2 books with me in case I get a little bit of like time in between appointments and things, but we'll see. It is many hours later now. I have run pretty much all of the errands except for my nails. I finished up lunch with my mum and I came straight to like the shopping centre where the nail place is because there wasn't really enough time to go home in between, but now I'm here 20 minutes early, so I think I'm going to do a little bit of reading. I'm 25% of the way through One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. I'm enjoying it so far. It's fun, but I feel like I'm still obviously like setting up the story. But I think I'm gonna try and read a little bit more of Sally Thorne's 99% Mine. And also I'm only up to page 45 of this. When I started it last night, I read like 20 pages and went to bed, and then I read like 20 pages this morning, and then I just had to like run around and do all the stuff that I needed to do. So I really haven't done as much reading today as I wanted to, but I think I will continue this into tomorrow because I don't think I have any plans tomorrow apart from like going to the gym and going for a walk. Good morning. It's technically day 3 of my 24-hour readathon, but you guys know I read for like, I don't even know, maybe like 2 hours yesterday, so I'm kind of just like not including that, and we started at 4 p.m. the day before. So yes, this is a very messy and very unorganized 24-hour readathon, but I'm having fun, so I'm going to continue it through today as well. Just to give you a little recap in case you're a bit lost, because fair enough. We have finished Book of Night by Holly Black. I have not made any progress on this book, but we might read a bit of that today. I started the audiobook for One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. I think I'm about a quarter of the way through this, and I think I'll continue switching between the audiobook and the physical book today. And we also started reading 99% Mine by Sally Thorne. Yes, I do read multiple books at once. This is very normal for me. I don't know why, but it just seems to kind of match the chaos in my brain. So I read like 20 pages of this yesterday. I'm up to page 94, and I think it's like, what is the time? Just hit 8 a.m. So I've kind of just like had my normal morning routine. I did a little bit of reading, but I've not been in the right headspace. I've been distracted doing other things. So I read like 10 pages of this morning. I just made myself my coffee. Stunning. You guys can't even see it. And I'm gonna sit here and read. I would love to finish this one today, which is kind of ambitious because we're not even a third of the way through, and potentially this one as well. I think we could finish this one, so we'll see how we go. I'll keep you guys updated, obviously. Update. I don't know what the time is. 9 something, maybe 10 something. I just reached chapter 13, page 178. So I think I'm like, yeah, halfway through. I was getting kind of bored, and then when it hit the like 150 page mark, it started getting interesting. I feel like the first 150 pages were just so repetitive. Like once you were introduced to the characters and kind of like understood their backstories a little bit, it got kind of boring because it felt like they were just like having the same discussion over and over again. In this book we have Darcy, and she has a twin brother Jamie, and they have both inherited their grandmother's house, which is basically falling apart. But Darcy was like best friends with her grandma, so it's really important to her that this house is looked after. As per her grandmother's dying wishes, her and her brother have been asked to renovate it. Like that's what the grandmother asked them to do in the will. She gave them the house and was like, please renovate this and restore it
and then sell it, and then obviously like split the money you receive when you sell it. And Darcy doesn't really want to sell it because she's obsessed with the house, but her brother does want to sell it, and she can't really afford to like buy him out, so she's kind of just like having to go along with it. But they ended up hiring Tom, which is her brother's best friend and like childhood best friend, so like she like grew up with Tom as well, because he's a builder, contractor, I don't even know what his like actual title is, but they decided to hire Tom to be in charge of restoring this house. But Darcy was living in the house, and so now she's moved into like the back garage, like studio type of thing while the house gets restored. But there is history between Tom and Darcy. I don't want to like obviously tell you guys too much because it's just like fun getting to find things out, but at the start of it was kind of just like, oh, like Tom came back into her life and she hadn't really seen him in a long time, and now they're working on this project together and like old feelings are kind of coming back, but she's kind of like, no, he's off limits, and I think he's kind of like, no, she's off limits, because it's like his best friend's sister. It is only one POV, like you only get to read from Darcy's POV, which I wish we got to see Tom's point of view. I think it would be so interesting, but we just don't get that. But once you get to page 150, they actually like start working on the house, like the construction starts for the house. And now I feel like it's a little bit more interesting because there's more of a plot than just like the two characters interacting. Like before that, it was just kind of like the banter that they had and them kind of like flirting, but like trying not to flirt and like whatever else, and I was just kind of like, I'm kind of bored. But now that there's a bit more of like a plot to it, I am finding it more interesting. But I think I'm gonna take a break because there's a few things that I need to do and I just like can't get them out of my head, and I feel like I can't like really get into this while I keep thinking of all these other things that I need to get done today. So there's not really that many things, but I think I just want to smash them out. I might listen to my audiobook while I do those things and just get them out of the way.
I just got some new flavors of the My Protein vegan clear protein, and I thought it'd be fun to do a bit of a taste test. I honestly really love the clear protein. I do find it's best to mix it in a protein shaker. I just find that it comes out the most smooth. But they released a few new flavors recently, so I wanted to try them out. I've already tried the lemon lime. This is one that I've had for ages and I love it. If you don't know, clear protein, or at least like these ones, I like to mix with water predominantly. So we have the lemon and lime, which I already know and love. And then we also have a watermelon, which smells incredible, and a raspberry mojito. But I thought it would be fun to do a bit of a taste test and kind of see how they compare. Also, if you do want to try these out, you can use the code RachelC. I'll have everything linked down below. My Protein are doing a crazy sale over the next week or so, depending on when this goes up. But let's try this. Okay, I'm gonna start off with this as like my baseline because I already know that I like this. Love. It's just kind of like cordial, I guess, but you get an extra 10 grams of protein in your diet, which is amazing. Okay, so this one's the watermelon one. That's really good. It kind of tastes like pre-workout. If you like drinking pre-workout for the taste, you should definitely get on these. If you just want them as a beverage. I should try mixing them with my pre-workout as well. That could be a really great option. I like that one. To be fair, I don't know if I've ever had a raspberry mojito, so it's a bit hard to tell you if it tastes exactly like that or not. I think my favorite is the watermelon, and then I don't know which one out of these two I like better. I think I do like this one better. That's actually crazy because I really like this one, but I think I like both of these better. That is probably my number one pick if you guys are gonna try one. If you like watermelon flavored lollies, watermelon flavored drinks, definitely try that one.
I reckon.
That's my exact ranking as well. The other new thing that I wanted to try are these impact bars. They have a bunch of flavors in these. I got two to try out. So I've already tried this one, which is the fudge brownie flavor. Liam and I both tried it and we both love it. It is so good. I am very picky with my protein bars. There's not many that I like. I like a fudgy protein bar, so I really like this. But this other flavor that we got was cookies and cream, and I haven't tried this one yet. And Liam was really excited to try this one too. Liam's in a class right now, so he would be here if he could be, but he's supposed to be on a Zoom class. Yum. It's just like white chocolate, almost like a mud cake kind of situation. I think that's my favorite.
That's so good. It's like cookies and cream ice cream.
Cookies and cream ice cream. I thought it tastes like white chocolate mud cake.
Probably the best protein bar I've ever had.
Best protein bar he's ever had.
I'm definitely ordering more of those. But yeah, like I said, I'll leave these linked down below if you guys want to check them out. You can use code RachelC. You can always use that code no matter what, and it'll get you a great deal. But sometimes they just have a little bit more of a sale than normal, and I think this week is one of those weeks. So check out the website to see all the details on that.
I wanted to end out this vlog by giving you my thoughts on the books that I ended up finishing. So I ended up finishing Book of Night by Holly Black, One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston, and 99% Mine by Sally Thorne. I did not make much progress on Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. Read a little bit more, but definitely didn't finish it. But I'll give you my thoughts on these ones. So the first one I finished was Book of Night. This was a very highly anticipated read for me. I was really excited about this one, and unfortunately it didn't quite live up to my expectations. As far as I'm aware, this is Holly Black's debut into the adult fantasy world. The Folk of the Air series that she has previously written is YA fantasy, and this definitely did feel more adult. It felt a lot darker, not in the sense of like it was super dark and disturbing at all, like it wasn't like that, but it just had that darker, more mature feel about it. I feel like in the Folk of the Air series, it just had me gripped from the beginning. Like I was so intrigued in the story and the world and everything like that, whereas this just took so long to get to like the good part. At least that's what I think personally. I don't know the ins and outs of like fantasy terminology, but I would probably class this as an urban fantasy because it felt really real life. Like although there was a fairly important fantasy aspect, it felt very urban to me. Like it felt just pretty normal with like a little bit of fantasy. Basically in this world, some people have shadows that kind of are magical, I guess, and some people don't. So some people are just regular humans and some people have magic shadows. And the people who do have control over their shadows, there's like varying levels of that control, but for the most part, they're just normal people, and a few of them have powerful shadows. And obviously the shadows did have a significant part in the book, but it just didn't really feel magical to me. I've started to make notes on my phone as I'm reading books so that I can remember what I was thinking during reading it, not just after it. So I have written 25% of the way through, not a lot happening. So when I was like a quarter of the way through the book, it felt like nothing was happening. Halfway through, I feel like this is where the real plot actually began. Yes, I remember this. So I feel like once I got to 50%, it felt like the plot was beginning because you finally understood like the whole shadow situation. You finally understood the characters and their backstories and whatever. But it only was at 50% of the way through the book when you actually felt like something was happening, like the plot was beginning. It felt like everything else was just building it up. And to me, for a 300-page book, 50% of it was just world building, even though the world didn't really feel that complicated because it wasn't even like a fully fantasy world, it was like urban fantasy. I just think that's a bit too much. Like it needed to either be longer so that the plot took up more of the book, or the plot needed to just start earlier in the book. I also wrote, now that I'm at 75%, I feel like it's really getting interesting. 85% to 95% was wild. 95% to 100% kind of dragged on. So I feel like the real meat of this book only happened in like 10 to 15% of it. The rest of it just felt not great. That 10 to 15% had me so hooked, had me so intrigued, but every other part of it I was just kind of like, eh. In terms of the characters, they weren't very likable to me. I didn't really care that much about them. There were also a few things that were quite predictable to me, so I was a little bit disappointed in some of the plot points because I was like, that was so obvious that was going to happen. A lot darker than I was expecting. Not awful, but definitely lots of death, murder, blood, just not nice events happening all over the place. I feel like that was a way you could tell that it's definitely not YA. I was just reading through my notes, and one thing that I do want to say is that I recognize why there were so many, or why it took so long for the plot to begin, because once you do get to the end, you see that there was a lot of foreshadowing that comes into fruition, a lot of full circle moments, a lot of detail that becomes relevant later. But if you're losing people and people aren't paying attention in that first part, they're not even going to get to the end, let alone be able to make all those connections. So I don't know, it just didn't hit the way that I was expecting it to, didn't live up to my expectation. In saying that, I still thought it was good. I gave it a 3.5. I still thought the writing was great. It was atmospheric. I really did like the plot once the plot actually began, and I really liked the last like third or last quarter of the book probably. But in saying that, I didn't like the ending. The ending was not very good to me and it kind of left me disappointed, but I don't know, I'm really intrigued to hear your thoughts on this. If you've read it, please let me know. I've only seen one person who has loved this so far. Every other review that I've seen personally, like on Bookstagram and BookTok and things like that, have been mostly people who were disappointed. It just wasn't the book for me. The next book that I picked up was One Last Stop, and I ended up giving this 3 or 3.5 stars. I liked a lot of aspects of this book. I really liked the found family. I felt like the character, August, really had a lot of personal growth and character development throughout the novel, which I love. That is something that I absolutely froth. I feel like at the start of the book, she didn't really know who she was or what she wanted or what her purpose was in life, or just, I don't know, just like who she was. And by the end of the book, it felt like she had so much purpose. She had a lot more confidence. She understood herself better, and I loved that. At the start of the book, she basically had no friends and no connections really, and by the end she had found love, she had found friendship, and it was really beautiful to see her journey. But in saying that, I just didn't find myself reaching for it. Like, it wasn't a book that I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see what's going to happen next. I really want to see what the characters are doing, blah blah blah. When I really like a book, I feel like I rearrange my day to be able to spend more time reading, or I try and do my work as quickly as possible so that I can get back to my book, or I find myself trying to reach for the audiobook when I'm doing like mundane tasks instead of watching YouTube or something like that in the background, like if I'm doing emails or cooking or something. But I just didn't find myself wanting to reach for it. Like, when I was actually listening to it or reading it, I was enjoying it, but it wasn't like revolutionary to me. So I definitely would recommend this one. I did love that it was a romance with a plot. Like, there was a bit of mystery involved and trying to figure out like what was really happening with the love interest, and there was a little bit of fantasy involved. It was definitely a unique storyline, but it just didn't have me absolutely hooked. And I felt like by the end I was just like, oh, that was nice, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, that was the best book ever. So like 3.5 stars. Again, I'd recommend it. I think it's a good book, but it's not going to be like at the top of my list for recommendations. And lastly, we have 99% Mine by Sally Thorne. I feel like I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with Sally Thorne. I feel like she seems to be very hit or miss for me. I did not like the Hating Game very much. I felt like it was just very lust driven and there just wasn't a lot of depth, and it felt just kind of like to me. However, I did find it a very easy book to read, very quick and very just like easy to fly through. And then I read Second First Impressions and I loved that book. That was a 5-star read for me. I thought it was such a wholesome, beautiful story. I loved all the characters in that book. The main characters, the side characters, the little quirky storylines that are like side plots, all of it I was just obsessed with. So I was really intrigued to pick up this one and see what I thought of this, because I've kind of had a great experience and then a not great experience with Sally Thorne, and this kind of fell flat for me, which sucks. I wanted her to be one of those authors that I just absolutely loved, and maybe The Hating Game was just a miss for me, but I'm starting to think that Second First Impressions was a bit of a rare one for her. I don't know. I kind of gave you guys a rundown of what this book is about, and I thought I would really like this because it's brother's best friend and kind of like friends to lovers kind of vibe, but I don't know. I just like didn't really care that much. I felt like the main character was so selfish the whole time, and that kind of irked me. I really liked the love interest. I thought he was really nice, but also he was very like self-sabotaging, and that kind of annoyed me as well. The third act breakup was kind of frustrating. It is quite slow burn, so if you're not into that, probably don't pick this up. I love slow burn, so like I loved that aspect of it. And there were a few things in the story that just like didn't quite like hit the way I thought they were gonna hit. Like, I feel like the last like quarter of the book where like the issue happened and then the reconciliation or whatever you would call it just was kind of, I don't know, it just wasn't it. It felt rushed. I'm pretty sure everything happened in the last like 30 or 40 pages. And I remember just thinking like, why did she just leave it all for such a short amount of pages? You know what I mean? Like, the ending could have been spread out a little bit more, and I feel like it would have just had so much more depth to it. And you know that a book isn't good when I don't care about the epilogue. I didn't even read the epilogue in this because I just didn't care. I just didn't care. I don't remember last time I didn't read an epilogue. I literally opened it, I started reading the epilogue, and then I saw how long the epilogue was, and I was like, can't be bothered. So I gave it, I think 3 stars, maybe like 3.25 if we're getting specific. It was good and it was fun, and there were aspects of it that I liked, but overall I was just kind of like, which sucks. So again, this was like a cute, solid read. I wouldn't tell someone not to read this, but I wouldn't go out of my way to recommend it to my friends. So do with that what you will. So unfortunately, this was a very like mediocre reading vlog in terms of like the quality of the books that I chose. I had so much fun filming this though. I kind of want to do like a 24-hour readathon like once a month maybe, but I definitely need to clear out my schedule before I film it. I do not know how people do them all the time. I feel like there's not many days that go by that I don't have like some sort of plans or like just work to get done, but it is so fun to just dedicate a bunch of time to reading. And some of these books have been on my TBR for a really long time, so I'm kind of glad that I got to knock over a few books on my physical TBR. 99% Mine was one of the books on my 22 books to read in 2022, and this book has just been on my bookshelf for probably almost a year now. And of course this one was just a highly anticipated new release. But those are the books that I read in this 24-hour readathon that spanned over like 3 days and probably still wasn't even 24 hours of reading. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you want to see more videos like this, please let me know. Or if you think it's not really the vibe, also feel free to let me know. As always, if you have any book recommendations for me, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and check out my Bookstagram if you want to get more up-to-date book content on what I might be reading and what I think of the books that I'm reading. But I love you guys. I hope you have a great day or night, and I will see you in my next video very soon. Goodbye.